Good. That's my theme song these days. I'm good, because that's how I feel most of the time. So good morning. Good morning. Seriously? That's how much coffee you've had? Let's try it again. Good morning. Good morning. All right. So I'm here to talk about time. Just time. And the importance of time. And today what I hope to do is implore you to think more about time. Not just your own time, but your customers' time. And about all the innovations and about all the technical capabilities and about all of the emerging technologies that are coming, which you will hear more and more about throughout the day, and how that can come back to time. Because time matters. Time matters a lot. For centuries and centuries, people have been working to get more time back. The wheel was invented because it's a lot easier to roll than to drag. The bow and arrow was invented because it's a lot easier to shoot from afar and safer than run after somebody with a stick and try to hit them with a tip. The mobile phone or cellular phone originally was developed so you could be on the go and away from a physical location so that you could get more time to do other things. Expend less effort on this to allow more time for that. Time matters. And most people say they don't have enough time. 60% of working Americans say they need more time. But there are only 168 hours in the week. And I think when most of us say we need more time, we don't actually want the 168 to turn to 172 or 200 or 280. What we want is time back to do the things that bring us satisfaction, to bring us to the goals that we have, the time that actually we can value to do things we want. And all of you spend time thinking about time, whether you realize it or not. Right now in the room, you're hopefully listening a little bit, but you're thinking about time. You're thinking about how many things are piling up because you took a day away from the office. You're checking messages and wondering what time you can call the person that decided that it was urgent to talk to them while you were away for one day from the office. You're thinking about the networking event and how you're going to get to Siena and find out who to network with and hit 4 people and stand in line for the bathroom and hopefully get coffee. If you're me, I'm thinking about I hope you take at least one thing away from what I say, but I'm thinking about what time it's socially acceptable in Chicago to drink my second Diet Coke of the day. Time matters. It matters to all of us. So as you think about how to produce time for your customers, you have to think differently about the experiences that you bring. And I would argue that the best way to do that is to think about how to humanize the experiences. Your customers, whether they're institutions or individuals, are human beings at the end of the day. And every human being is looking for a more efficient way to do things and a more satisfying way to get things done in their life. We want what you just heard talked about. We want emotion. We want satisfaction. We want to feel good about what's going on. And so we have to think about not digital experiences, not just how the technologies can connect things. We have to think about the relationship we build with that customer, and we have to make it human. Because after all, we're not seeking to create a digital experience to do a transaction with someone. We're seeking to provide a human experience through the digital technologies and interfaces that are available to us. So what are some key ways to do that? Luckily, you've already heard a little bit about them. First of all, I believe mobility is mandatory. Second, I believe that experience is absolutely everything. And third, I believe if you do not create psychological and emotional connectivity with your client, you will have lost them from the first. So why is mobility mandatory? Every single person in here is sitting with their phone. Depending on the stats you look at, probably more than 80% of people would turn back around to go home and get their smartphone if they left it and rather be late than live without it. More than 44% of adults say they could not make it 24 hours without that device. 1/3 of people actually check your device more than 110 times a day. And for those of you that are younger than me in the millennial generation, it's somehow more than 55% of you, 110 times a day. By the way, I've never done the calculation on what that means because I know I'm one of those people and I don't need to see my addiction played out in front of me on numbers. So here's the deal. Mobility matters, connectivity matters, but it's about a lot more than the smartphone. So if you're still in the place where you're convincing your company that smartphones matter, that mobile first is the way to go, just look at the stats. Tons and tons and tons of people are walking around connected all over the world, and especially in the United States. But more than that, as Jay said this morning, it's not about that rectangle that you're carrying around and the way you're connected. It's about holistic mobility with the capabilities that are now at our fingertips so we can bring experiences to life for customers. So let's take one use case just to play that out for a minute. Let's talk about time and about commuting. Working Americans spend, on average, 4 hours per week commuting. For me, it's a little over 5. Until recently, it was either in an Uber or on the subway in New York City. Now it's driving my own car in Cincinnati and having to pay a lot more attention to traffic and getting in love with Waze, because now I know when the cops are and I don't get stopped for speeding. But it's a lot of time. And so what can I do with that time? Clearly, people need to drive. People need to be in the back of the Uber. People need to be on the subway, the bus, or whatever else they're doing. But they have other things they're trying to get done, because you're thinking all the time about your time. So how do you as a brand provide an experience to that customer that shows them mobility matters? There are a lot of different ways to do it, and a lot of the capabilities are there. But throwing out the ability to ask, in my banking industry, what's my balance, doesn't really get there. Yeah, I'm enabling something while I'm driving the car, but I'm not getting something done, because I'm not actually achieving a task. Going one step further and using maybe the new Siri extension on Venmo to say, pay Jared $5, would you like to do it from Venmo? Yes. Now I achieved my task. I paid for the coffee that was bought for me, and I can move on with my day. One example could be the connected car and the voice capabilities we have today. But there are countless examples of how you could take a variety of technologies and actually apply them to the experiences you're delivering. But only if at the core you remember that mobility is mandatory. We are no longer in an age, as you've heard over and over and you've implored at your own organizations, where mobile can be thought of last. We're in an age where people are connecting across multitudes of channels all day long, and we have to enable mobility in all experiences we give. So what else? Well, experience is absolutely everything. If your experience is not phenomenal, I love it. You might have to watch this for a long time. So if your experience is not phenomenal, your customer will not want to come back. Most people decide in the first 50 milliseconds when they hit a site whether or not they are going to, or whether or not they like it. By the way, for those who haven't had enough caffeine, 50 milliseconds, it's like 0.05 seconds. It's like not even a breath, right? And they decide in the first 4 to 6 seconds whether they're actually going to stay and engage or whether you've lost them. Think about that for a second. That's it. 4 seconds. That's absolutely all you had to grab that person's attention. And oh, by the way, their attention wasn't just about the fact they came to where you are right now, because their attention is on everything else that's going on in their head. And on top of that, they didn't come to whatever your product or service or site or app is only to compare you to everybody else that's in the industry like you. Because what they're comparing you to in that experience is the best last experience that they had. Your competitors are not the competitors that your strategy team, your finance team, and your C-suite tell you they are. Your competitors are the best last experience that any one of your customers had. That is the bar that they are holding you to, and that is why you have to obsess about experience. You can do it by looking at content. You can do it by looking at words. Right now, if you think about where technology is available and where it's taking us, what you should do a lot, I think, is think about how to apply those technologies. Putting a bot in just to put a bot solves nothing. Using data but not actually personalizing does nothing. What we have to think about as we talk throughout the day about connected experiences, about conversational UI, about robotics, about augmented reality, is how do you actually apply that in a meaningful way where the experience is delightful and where it actually provides time back to the customer for other things that are going on in their life, so that they see that you see them as a whole person and not just the little thing they're doing with you. At Fifth Third Bank, we're not working right now actively on robotics. We're talking a lot about it. And I can see a day where the capabilities that are available can birth themselves in an experience where we're not a boring bank that you just have to get your job done with because you have your money with us, but we're actually a place that you can engage and interact and feel that we are a personal virtual assistant who has become a member of your family and who is on your side, cheering you on for where you're headed in life, enabling the things you want to do, and actually making you feel like we've anticipated what you needed and we've actually understood why you wanted to do it. There is no reason that in banking it has to be about the dollars and cents that you owe us or we owe you. What it has to be about is that greater relationship and the connectivity that we can provide about your whole life and the money that you have available to you. So we think it's pretty exciting. We're not there yet. I think many of you are working on many things in this space from those I've met today. But I think what we really have to focus on is experience is everything. No technical solution in and of itself solves something for you. You have to stay back on the fact that experience is everything. And finally, you got to focus on the person, on the emotion, on the psychology of it. You've already heard this mentioned in terms of the importance of that achieving satisfaction, that anticipation of satisfaction. I like to call it getting the dopamine hits. I don't mean that you should start serving addictive drugs to your customers. What I mean is that we should find ways to give them little bits of satisfaction, little attaboys every single step of the way. Think about yourself for a minute, and let's not even go digital. Many people in this room pay for someone to do something else for you. You send your laundry out, you pay a concierge to go pick things up for you, you pay somebody to clean your home, and you get satisfaction from that. Why? Number one, it comes back to time. You don't have time to do it, or you don't have the desire to spend your time doing that. And so you have decided that the value of how you can spend your time is different than the value of what it would cost you to do that. The opportunity cost for you is great, and you pay someone else to take care of that for you, which is incredibly exciting. I don't know about you, but when I come home and my home is clean, and if there are fresh linens on my bed, which is my favorite thing on earth, I mean, honestly, it's like orgasmic for me. It's such a satisfying dopamine hit. Might be an overshare, but it's the honest to God truth. So, what are those similar things in the digital world, in the interconnected world, in the way that we operate with our customers that we can do for them? Think about gaming. In gaming, I'm not a gamer, but I spend a lot of time talking to gamers because it fascinates me. In gaming, it's essentially entertainment, right? The way I go sit in a movie, a gamer sits and plays a game. They're entertaining themselves, and they want that time to do it. But in a game, you will actually pay to level up, to get somewhere faster, to save yourself time on where you are, and to actually accelerate the path to satisfaction, to accelerate that quick hit, that happy chemical hit that allows you to feel happy that you got to the next stage. In banking, we try to help you save your money. But sometimes it feels like we're making you steal from yourself today and deprive yourself. You really want to go out for drinks and a nice dinner tonight, but we told you that if you don't do that, if you do that today, then Jenny doesn't go to college next week. We told you that if you do that today, that vacation to Tahiti is off. That doesn't feel like a great emotional connection with your bank. That doesn't feel like a great thing from your provider. Why instead couldn't I say, way to go on getting the smaller size at Starbucks, and those 55 cents are now going to tap over here. Attaboy. We'll give you a little love tap, make you feel good. Quick dopamine hit that even when you're spending your money, you can still be doing great things in life for yourself. So giving those dopamine hits to our customers and connecting on them emotionally is incredibly important. But at the end of it, it all comes back to time. If I could ask you one thing for your day today, it would be to think differently about time, about your time and about your customers' time. To think about how, as you experience today, as you network with your peers that are here, as you look in the innovation hall, as you talk and hear about how people are applying technologies, that instead of thinking about the thing that technology can do, you think about the time that can enable in somebody's life. And you think about that it's not about a mobile phone or about a physical store or about what little thing you're doing in one piece of a website, but it's about that entire connectivity and the mobility and the experience and the psychological dopamine hit you can give someone. If there's one thing you do today, I ask that you listen, I ask that you learn, I ask that you think about time and time as the why you create and deliver the experiences that you give. When you give people time in their lives, you earn their trust, you earn a right to be in a relationship with them, and I think it's pretty freaking awesome. So to me, as we think through the day of forward, think forward about experiencing technology differently. Think about how to give time back to yourself, to your clients, and to build that relationship and trust because you gave them every happy chemical that they needed to just feel like you were the best thing ever. Thanks for the time.